This is a beautiful decoupage style collage by artist Katie McCann, and it's really beautiful. And the woman who bought it is a collector, and she's a little concerned that since this is paper and there's like a dimensionality to it, and even though it's been coated, she really wants to protect it with glass. So here's the problem. She loves this floating look with the space around it, but this is a floater frame. You can't put glass on this. There's no lip for the glass to sit on. So now we go to a regular frame. And if we look at this frame, it does have a lip for the glass to sit on. So now let's talk about exactly how this is going to be built. First, the glass goes in, all in here. Then, this will be black. A black spacer goes all the way around. So now when you look at it, it looks like a floater frame. This is all black. And then this board, which this will be attached to, and that's the challenge, will drop right in. And rest on the spacer. Okay guys, so here's the problem or the challenge. This has to be attached to this. And it needs to be centered perfectly on this piece of oak plywood. The problem is, when you turn this over, because what I really want to do is screw it on, the problem is, it's so hard to screw this on without it moving around a little bit. And second, I could clamp it so that it stays put while I screw it, but I would really rather not do that. So what I'm going to do is, unfortunately the label got ripped off, but using Titebond hide glue, which is reversible with vinegar, I am going to tack this down in a few places with hide glue. Of course, we're going to photograph this and put it on the back of the piece. And I'm going to glue it down perfectly centered. Now, once this is glued down perfectly centered, it's really easy to throw a couple of screws in there. Once that's done, this edge will be painted black. And I think we've come up with a solution, and we'll show you more as we work on the project. So as I said, my goal is to get this completely centered on this piece of oak plywood, and I prefer this to a ruler. I have a little mark. I'm right on the mark. I'm right on the mark. I'm right on the mark. So this is now perfectly centered all the way around. So when this drops into this frame, the image will be centered within this space. Let's take a look. Now there's a little bit of wiggle room because you have to cut this a little smaller. I can shim that, and I think that's going to be just beautiful. So now that this is centered, I am going to draw, I'll just double check this one here. That's perfect. Once this is glued down, I'm going to mask off the painting and come in and paint this black. Okay. So here is my hide glue, reversible glue, and all I'm going to do is I'm not going to clamp this. I'm just going to put a few dots on. I just want to stabilize this so when I put the screws in it, it doesn't move around. hide glue is so easy to take off with water. I don't think it will, but if a little squishes out onto here, I can just wipe that right up. Oh, that was a little too much there. I think I'm gonna take some of that away. All right, now what I need to do is get the hide glue off my finger. Wait 1 minute, guys. Okay, I got the hide glue off my finger. I didn't want to get any glue on the piece. Now, we're going to turn this around. And I've got plenty of wiggle room here as I position this. And I'm going to put this right on my line. Good, we're not getting any squeeze out, which I like. Well, a little bit right there. We will wipe that up right now. Beautiful. Okay, now I'm going to take my little measuring stick and just make sure I didn't drift some way. You won't be able to see all this as I go around, but you know what I'm doing. I'm just checking to make sure that we are still even. Oh, that's perfect. All right, so we photographed the inside with the writing on it. That will be put on the back. This is now going to sit without moving, and it's going to dry. Then I can put just a couple of screws in to make sure this is really solid to this, and we'll be ready to put it together, and we're also going to show you that. Okay, I'm ready to paint this black because this is going to show through the floater frame we're building with glass on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mask off the painting. Even though the paint I'm using is black, I don't want to get any of that on the actual painting. Here comes the last side. Now, rather than spend time taping plastic or paper on top of this, I made a beautiful crude box. I just drop it right over the painting like that. And now I can paint this, and the painting's protected. Okay, we're still working on those really deep paintings, and you know, I realized I wanted more space between the glass and the painting, which means we come in here, the frame needs to be deeper. So I do this a lot. These get screwed onto here, and then this has a nice rounded edge, and this gets painted black, and it really does just kind of blend in and look like part of the frame. I just wanted more depth. Of course, we're not charging the client for this because I think I made a mistake when I measured the depth. So we'll carry on and get these screwed on. Okay, everyone, the frame is done, and I ended up doing a little bit of a build out on the frame to get a little more depth. So now the piece has to go in, but it has to rest on something. So these are the spacers that I made, and they go in fairly simply. Just a little bit of acid-free ATG tape should hold them. And what I always do is I put the top and bottom in first when it hangs, however it hangs, and that way they're held in place by the side ones. And by the way, this is acid-free foam core, and when I put these in, which are the ones on the sides, this seam here is going to show right there. And that's why this is beveled back so I have a really sharp edge to go up against the foam core in there. So let's put this one in. And with these, I want to make sure that the ends are really stuck down good. That's why I come right across the ends there. And that's it, just one more to go.